Saddam Hussein. To the world, he was a dictator, a man who ruled Iraq with fear, violence, and ambition.
Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours. Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict.
The President's order, coalition forces began the ground war to disarm Iraq and liberate the Iraqi people.
Operation Iraqi Freedom, our effort to disarm Iraq and dismantle the Iraqi regime, is fully underway.
But here's the twist. Saddam Hussein wasn't always America's enemy. In fact, at one point, the United States quietly supported him with money, intelligence, and political cover. So how did the US go from arming Saddam Hussein against Iran to fighting him in the Gulf War, to finally toppling his regime with the excuse of nuclear weapons? This is the story of how America built up Saddam Hussein and then betrayed him. To understand Saddam Hussein's rise and America's role in it, we need to rewind. After World War II, the Middle East became the most strategically important region in the world. Why? Oil and geopolitics. The US wanted to secure energy supplies, contain Soviet influence, and later contain revolutionary Iran after 1979. Iraq, under Saddam, would become both a tool and a problem in that strategy.
The World Trade Center that was
the lion's share of the world's remaining oil reserve. We cannot permit a resource so vital to be dominated by one so ruthless. And we won't.
It's going to be bloody. There are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of casualties.
The world is better off and America is more secure without Saddam Hussein in power.
Saddam was born in 1937 in Tikrit, a poor town north of Baghdad. By the 1960s, he had joined the Ba'ath Party, a secular Arab nationalist movement. The Ba'athists wanted a strong Arab world, free from Western colonialism. Saddam quickly rose through the ranks, using a mix of political maneuvering and ruthless violence. In 1979, he became president of Iraq. From the beginning, Saddam ruled with fear, executing rivals, controlling the press, and building a cult of personality. But he had ambitions far beyond Iraq's borders, to make Iraq a regional superpower. In 1979, Iran underwent a revolution. The Shah, a close US ally, was overthrown. Ayatollah Khomeini took power, turning Iran into a fierce opponent of Washington. For Saddam, this was a chance. In 1980, Iraq invaded Iran, hoping to seize oil-rich land and weaken his new rival. The war dragged on for 8 brutal years. Over 1 million dead or wounded. Entire cities destroyed. Saddam's use of chemical weapons against both Iranian troops and Kurdish civilians. And yet, during this time, the US quietly backed Saddam. Washington provided satellite intelligence to guide Iraqi strikes. Loans and credits funneled through Gulf states. Dual-use technology that helped Iraq's weapons programs. Why? Because Saddam was fighting America's enemy, Iran. But by supporting him, the US helped create a dictator who felt untouchable. By the late 1980s, Iraq was broke. The Iran War left Saddam with $80 billion in debt. Kuwait, Iraq's small but oil-rich neighbor, became his target. Saddam accused Kuwait of stealing oil and driving down prices. In August 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait. For Washington, this was unacceptable. Saddam had gone from useful ally to regional threat.
This will not stand. This will not stand, this aggression against Kuwait. I've got to go. I have to go to work.
President George H.W. Bush built a massive international coalition. In January 1991, Operation Desert Storm began.
absolute something going on. That shell falling.
Someone's shooting into that building. Someone is shooting from there into the building over there.
Don't know like home without blow this one.
In just 6 weeks, Iraq's army collapsed. Kuwait was liberated. But Saddam remained in power. Why? Because the US feared that removing him might destabilize Iraq and strengthen Iran. So Saddam stayed, weakened but defiant. After the Gulf War, Iraq faced crushing sanctions. The sanctions devastated ordinary Iraqis. Widespread malnutrition, shortages of medicine, a collapsing economy. But Saddam stayed in control, using food rationing and propaganda to maintain power. Meanwhile, US intelligence suspected he was hiding weapons of mass destruction. Throughout the 1990s, UN inspectors searched Iraq. They dismantled much of Saddam's chemical and nuclear infrastructure.
We fully support the demand that the Security Council should extend the work of the inspectors because clearly it's working, and if it's working, why stop it? Why don't we give it a chance to complete its task so that we can finally have satisfaction that all weapons of mass destruction have been dealt with?
But suspicions remained. For Washington, Saddam became a symbol of unfinished business. Then came September 11th.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
The attacks reshaped U.S. foreign policy. President George W. Bush declared a global war on terror.
Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there. It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated.
And even though Saddam Hussein had no direct link to 9/11, his regime was painted as a major threat.
This administration never said that the 9/11 attacks were orchestrated between Saddam and Al-Qaeda. We did say there were numerous contacts between Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda. For example, Iraqi intelligence officers met with bin Laden, the head of Al-Qaeda, in the Sudan. There's numerous contacts between the two. And lead their nation to a better day. He's a threat because he was a sworn enemy to the United States of America, just like Al-Qaeda. Now, he was a threat because he had terrorist connections, not only Al-Qaeda connections, but other connections to terrorist organizations. Abu Nadal is one. He was a threat because he provided safe haven for a terrorist like Zarqawi. who is still killing innocent inside of Iraq. Now, he was a threat, and the world is better off, and America is more secure without Saddam Hussein in power.
The Bush administration claimed Saddam was secretly rebuilding his weapons of mass destruction programs, including nuclear weapons. But the evidence was weak. Much of it was exaggerated, cherry-picked, or outright wrong.
For Saddam Hussein, possession of the world's most deadly weapons is the ultimate trump card, the one he must hold to fulfill his ambition. We know that Saddam Hussein is determined to keep his weapons of mass destruction. He's determined to make more. Given Saddam Hussein's history of aggression, given what we know of his grandiose plans, given what we know of his terrorist associations, and given his determination to exact revenge on those who oppose him, should we take the risk that he will not someday use these weapons at a time, at a place, and in a manner of his choosing, at a time when the world is in a much weaker position to respond? The United States will not and cannot run that risk to the American people.
In March 2003, the U.S. invaded Iraq. Within weeks, Saddam's regime collapsed. By December 2003, U.S. forces captured him. 3 years later, Saddam Hussein was executed. Saddam Hussein's story isn't just about one dictator. It's about how superpowers create allies when convenient, and enemies when interests change. He was once armed and supported by the U.S. against Iran. Later, he was demonized and destroyed when he no longer served American goals. And his fall unleashed chaos, civil war, sectarian violence, and the rise of ISIS. So here's the question. Did U.S. policy create the very enemy it later had to destroy?